Hi and welcome back. Thanks again for joining me. In this video, I thought we'd take a closer look at the dolls I made to go in this doll's house, and I can talk you through some of the techniques I used to make them. Now, as you can see, the dolls are all lined up outside their house, ready for inspection. Now, I was lucky enough to already have the wooden heads for the dolls. They were on the original dolls that my mum had made for me when I was a little girl that went in the house. But over the years, their outfits have become somewhat damaged and worn, especially after the dinosaur attacks. So I decided to redress them all and make them all from scratch. So I had the wooden head, and then I've used pipe cleaners for the arms, the body and the legs on them all. Now, these aren't the big coloured pipe cleaners that you find in most craft stores. These are called extra thin pipe cleaners. They're usually white in colour and they're thinner, so ideal for making figures like this. So with that, I would have put the pipe cleaners across here for his arms, made a body, and then come into the legs. And then I've covered it, all the pipe cleaners, in this sort of flesh coloured wool that I've needle felted into place. And made his body thicker as well to give him a bit of substance there. And then once I've done that, I've made little outfits for them. So you can see Dad here has wool for his hair, so this is just a sort of needle felting wool I've stuck onto his head and given him a beard. And we've got needle felting hands as well, and he's got little black feet here. And I've sewed him an outfit, a little jacket with buttons on it, a nice tie and a handkerchief in his pocket. And he's got matching trousers too. You turn him over and we can see the back of him. Now, I was fortunate enough that I've got a friend who makes outfits for stuffed animals that she makes. So she actually gave me some of her offcuts of materials so I could dress my dolls with it. It was ideal because I only need small amounts of material and she had small amounts left over. But also when dressing dolls as well, you need to think about the print on them. Because if the print's too large, it's going to be out of context with the size of the dolls that you're creating. Now, I'm pretty sure this is a 1/16 doll's house. So these figures are sort of in keeping with a 1/16 size doll's house. As you may know, doll's houses have different scales, and the larger the number, the smaller the scale of the house. Now, we come on to Mum. Mum's got this lovely blonde hair coming round her shoulder and down the front. She's got a pearl necklace on, pearl earrings as well, and a lovely dress. Lovely pattern on it. I've given her a ribbon around her waist and a bead on it to give the idea of a buckle, and needle felted shoes as well with a bead on them to give an idea of buckle as well. She's been made the same way as Dad, so with the extra thin pipe cleaners, the white pipe cleaners that I've then covered in flesh coloured needle felting wool and then dressed her in her lovely dress. She's got like a halter neck dress going on there. Then we move on to, I guess, Granny. Now, here's Granny. She's got this lovely curly wool for her hair. Now, this is actually locks. It's called, when you buy this type of wool, it's actually called locks, which means it's the wool as it's come off the sheep. It's obviously been washed and treated, so it's nice and clean, often dyed. But it's still got the curl in it like it would have done when it was on the sheep. And she's got a bow, a ribbon in her hair there as well. Now I've made her dress just out of a bit of lace here for her top. She's wearing a pinny. I know it's a bit traditional, but you know, it's a doll's house, so I thought I'd go for a traditional look for my figures. And then we've got a skirt, and she's got needle felted pink shoes on with beads on her shoes as well. Turn around and you can see she's also got a ribbon around the back of her belt as well, for her pinny rather. And we move on to the boy. Now, he's got the same colour hair as Dad, and made exactly the same way as the other ones with the pipe cleaners and the wool. And he's got a very simple sort of t-shirt on here with trousers and a sort of ribbon around his waist to give the idea of a belt. And he's actually got little red shoes, and I put a stitch in them as well, difficult to see, to give the idea of he's got laces going on in his shoes. And then we move on to the little girl. Similar coloured hair to her mum. Beautiful long hair down the back with a nice ribbon in her hair. Oh, left over a bit of tinsel from Christmas as well. There you go, how festive is that? Made exactly the same way as the others, the pipe cleaners, covered in wool. And she's got this white tunic with a lovely bow on the front and a spotty skirt. Now she wears like this bead in front of her here. This bead actually came off of an old pair of earrings I had. Like many crafters, I'm not very good at actually throwing anything away ever. And this bead, I remember them well, came off a pair of earrings I had in the 1980s when I was a child. So it would have been one of my early pairs of earrings. And come down and she's got red slippers on. So a little bit like Dorothy there with her red slippers. And then we move on to the little dog. As you can see, he's quite tiny. He's got, again, the same pipe cleaners in him, actually, to give some sort of structure. So he's got a little pipe cleaner going through his tail, his legs, and into his head. And then I've used brown coloured wool to needle felt him. It is quite tricky working on this small scale, but I've been needle felting for quite a few years now, and you kind of get used to it. He's got a bit of a gold thread around his neck with a bead for his collar. Little beads have been used for his eyes there as well. Now these other three figures, I can't actually take credit for these. They were made by a lady whose daughter gave them to me to add to my doll's house, which was very, very kind of her. But you can see they've been beautifully made by the lady. And she's obviously used wire here to give the impression of the hands, and then has coated it in wool, which is very clever, to give the idea of the tunic and the feet and the little dress as well she's made. She's also then, by the looks of things, used very, very tiny stitches for the eyes and mouth, and has actually sewed the hair onto the figure as well. Aren't they beautiful? I'm so lucky to be given them. And the same with the little toddler boy. I mean, he's got such character, hasn't he? And so clever the way lady's made this with the little dungaree set there, and his lovely hair, and it's rather in keeping with my other characters too. And we've got the little baby that I use as the toddler in the cot, and a bit more simple because he's just sort of wearing like a little onesie set there, isn't he? But it's very, very cute.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed that video, seeing how I've made the figures to go in the house. You might be able to see, but I've actually put the figures in different positions in the house as well. I like to move them around from time to time for the children in the village to see. As you can see, we've got Dad cooking in the kitchen at the moment, which is actually quite appropriate, considering it's my husband who does most of the cooking in our house. Well, don't forget to stay subscribed to see what I'm up to next time. And if you've got any comments or questions, pop them in the comments below. And see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.